Welcome, folks, to this May 8th webinar, all about the back to school online registration process. My name is Jake. I am the lead trainer at JMC, and I am joined today by Amy Bemis and Denise True. Amy, Denise, you want to say hi?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hi, everyone. I'm Denise.
And Paul Freed's here too, Mr. Jake.
Oh, fantastic. What a welcome that is. So today, as always, we have our Q&A feature built right into our Ring Central platform here. So if you have any questions as we go through this process, please feel free to use that Q&A feature, and Denise or Amy or Paul will be monitoring that for us as we go forward here. So today is part 2 of our back to school series, where we are going to cover the online registration process from the family end. So kind of before we get into online registration from the family end, I'd like to review a little bit about that previous webinar, part 1 of the back to school process. And to do so, I'm just going to grab a quick live look. First off, if you have not already checked this out, on YouTube, our webinar from this would have been a couple weeks ago, prepping for back to school online registration, is available on our JMC YouTube channel. And this is going to go through in detail all of the steps and all of the things that you would do to prep for back to school registration. So just very, very high level, what we're talking about is, first off, making sure you're in the upcoming school year. So you're going to want to be in 24-25 since you're prepping for back to school for the 24-25 school year. In JMC Family, under online registration, setup, configuration options, there are a number of district settings and school building level settings that you would address to get this thing going, starting with family permissions. So we'll get back to this here after our first section here in just a little bit, but this page would basically be your entire setup for online registration. You've got some things on here like custom fields questions and health custom fields questions that you would find over here that you would define as well. But the video, as I pointed out from 2 weeks ago, goes over each of those steps in detail. So you'll want to check that out. And what we're going to take a look at today is specifically from the family end. So we've got a seamless way to have your families sign up, register for school, whether you do it at a back to school night that's in person with some computer kiosks set up, or you leave your families up to their own devices at home to get this accomplished. It's pretty simple as the process goes. As long as the proper permissions are set, your families can start submitting that info in a safe and smooth way so that you can then in part 3 import those family submissions or process those family submissions so that your data is up to date in JMC. So we're going to go into registering your students for the upcoming school year. Yahoo, you no longer need to fill out those thick school registration packets by hand. Instead, find a cozy chair in the comfort of your home and easily knock out those forms online. Once your district has everything set up for online registration, you'll be able to answer customized registration questions, provide important health information, access applications for free and reduced cost meals, sign and review forms, download information, and review lunch and tuition and fees balances, all from the online registration module. So to get started, you'll log into JMC Family and head to the register for the 2024-2025 school year in the menu tree to visit that registration dashboard and get your kiddos ready for the upcoming school year by providing this information to your school. So step 1, you'll click that start/continue the registration process link to begin registering for the current school year. Helpful tip, Each registration page has a consistent layout to easily guide you through the process. You'll notice some back and forward buttons or back and next buttons. That's your navigation through this whole process. You also have a progress monitoring bar right at the top middle of the page that lets you know approximately how much more that you'll need to fill out. Step 2, read the instructions on the instructions tab to follow your district's personalized recommendations for completing the registration process. So the very first thing that you're going to see when you come to this page or come to your online registration page is the instructions that your district has laid out for you. The district can configure this. If you're watching this as an office professional, the instructions that you've configured in that first phase of back to school registration will appear right here as you've shown them. Step 3, enter or edit the fields on the contact information tab to submit primary contact demographic information to JMC and then click the next button. So you can update your last name, first name, address, city, emails, phone numbers, all that fun stuff for your primary contacts. Helpful tip, has any of your information changed during the school year? You can always return to this page as necessary to edit or update demographic information. So not only is this back to school registration, but really this is kind of a contact management page for your families and families. This is where you can go if you have changed a phone number or if you've changed an address in the middle of the year. Rather than having to reach out to your school to make these updates, this is something that you can simply do right from the JMC Family Portal. Step 4, you'll begin updating your student demographic information in the appropriate fields. You'll notice that there's some information that you will not be able to change because it is already listed in JMC Office. The office wouldn't necessarily want you changing a student's name, grade, or gender without the office having knowledge of that. So rather than allowing you to edit, you can view what's already there. You can edit the cell phone, license plate number, and secondary email address for the student, along with last school attended and race ethnicity information if that is available or set is available from the office. Step 5, enter your answers to the custom fields questions in the appropriate fields or choose from the drop-down lists in the custom fields tab to submit important student registration information to the office, then click the next button to advance. Fun fact, questions marked with an asterisk require an answer to continue through the registration process. So you'll see these required questions with a little star next to them to make sure that you've answered those questions. Once you click next, step 6, you will enter or edit the fields on your emergency contact tab to submit students' emergency contact information. So one of the things that I like to point out, if you are a parent and you're already listed as the primary contact, there's no need to list yourself as the emergency contact. This would be an additional person that is not the primary contact. So maybe an aunt or an uncle or grandparent or neighbor, friend, that sort of thing. So click the next button, and the next stage would be to enter and answer the health custom fields questions. Again, mandatory questions or mandatory answers are marked with a star. And the health custom fields provide some additional ways of gathering some information. So you might see some things like some tables on here or some other methods for collecting your information rather than just a drop down or a text field. Click the next button to advance, and that will take you directly to the downloadable content. So you can click the download link beside any documents that are required by your school or that are relevant to your family in that downloadable content tab. You can click that download to download those, and then click the next button to advance to the next page. Step 9 is if you have a new student, this is not required by any stretch, but if there's somebody that is new to the school from your family, you will add them using this add new student button. Some schools do choose to do a separate like kindergarten roundup. So this may be disabled for some of you. If you're looking at this page and thinking, well, I don't have a way to add new students, that might be something that your school does at a separate time. But if you are reaching this page and you need to add a kindergartner, you can do so by clicking that add new student button, then click next. Step 10, enter additional comments in the about your student in the comment tab and click the finish button to submit your student's registration information. Helpful tip, want to let the school know that your child attends the daycare next door, or maybe you want the school to know that your child is afraid of live animals. Enter these types of comments on the comment tab. Step 11, read through and complete any steps on the finished tab and then click the OK button to return to the registration dashboard. Fun fact, wondering if your registration submission went through? No worries, a confirmation email will be sent to you notifying you that your registration information has been received. So let's take a live look at registering online using the JMC Family Portal. And very briefly, I'm just going to show you a couple tips, particularly for the office that you're going to want to pay attention to. First off, like I mentioned before, you're going to want to make sure that you're in the 24-25 school year. And as a matter of fact, before switching to that 24-25 school year, I would go to the 23-24 school year, the current school year, and shut family permissions off. So you can shut that that first control off that would allow parents to access registration at all. And then they wouldn't be able to see that module at all when they log into the 23-24 school year. That's the first thing that I would do just to avoid any confusion. Sometimes schools will go back and in their start instructions for the previous year, 23-24, they'll erase these instructions and say, log into the 24-25 school year to register for the upcoming school year. And that's a way to handle it as well. I would prefer just shutting it off. Once you've logged into moving into the 24-25 school year, when you are ready for your families to begin submitting information, you'll want to turn this on. So you'll have your permissions set to allow parents or contacts to use all registration controls. And then you'll have each individual checkbox checked for the information that you would allow your families to submit. So if you're not ready to have your families answer any digital equity questions, you can remove that. Kind of same goes at the building, the application for educational benefits, for example. This usually is not available until it becomes available on a state-by-state basis, which is usually July 1st. So some schools begin back to school registration right away in June. That's totally fine. You can do that, but know that there might be some additional steps that you would need your families to take to complete their meals application. So your families might have to log in a couple different times, but that's up to you and how you want to handle it for your families. So with that, jumping into JMC Family, I'm going to go to just our landing page just to show you how families would access. Never been there, they're going to go to JMC Family. You're going to want to make sure that they are in the 24-25 school year. Family will enter their credentials. And now they're logged into the 24-25 school year. When they go to the register for 24-25 school year page, this dashboard shows the items that you would need to take care of as a parent to fulfill the registration process. So if you start with this top link, the start/continue the registration process, it's going to take you through all those demographic questions along with custom fields, health custom fields, and then your digital equity questionnaire. So
Hey, Jake, can I jump in with one thing?
Yes, please.
One thing that a client taught me a couple of years ago is that if you send this link that you see right there, if you just highlight the link at the top there, Jake, the URL, if you send that URL to your parents, when they log in, it'll make them put the username and password in, but it'll take them right to this screen. So instead of sending them the login link to JMC Family Portal, send them this link. And then when they log in, it'll take them right there. It's kind of a cool little shortcut.
Absolutely. And that's something that, a lot of schools are going to be communicating with their families that, hey, it's time to register for the 24-25 school year. That's something that you could easily include in that email. Click this link to get started. It's going to take them, as Paul mentioned, directly to that spot in the JMC Family Portal after they have logged in. So that's an excellent hack. Appreciate that. Starting that registration process here, your instructions, read through the instructions. These are going to give you everything that you need to know. We know that not everybody reads the instructions. Unfortunately, we can't force them to read the instructions, but the more information you include in there, utilizing some of those features that we have in JMC Office, like colored text and highlights and things like that, you can draw attention to certain items. Yeah, my only recommendation would be thoughtful in what you want to include here. If your families are not going to read a bunch of text, maybe bullet it out. We've got a few links that we want our families to be able to download, so we might include those directly on that registration process welcome page. They can click any of these live links, so that's what's going to show up there. Click the next to navigate through, and you can see that my progress bar advances. So for your families that have names, addresses, and emails, this is a simple page for them, because all they have to do is verify that all of this information is correct and then click next. If they had a change, they can go back, they can add additional email addresses or phone numbers. Again, these would be primary contacts. So families, as you enter your primary contact information, if you are living with your significant other or spouse, you're both primary contacts and both caretakers, you'd put yourself on that first line, as in Mary and Tom. If in the case of separated families, or if we have multiple primary contacts that live in different residences, one person would be enrolling the student back to school, going through the back to school process, and both families would actually have access to register for the 24-25 school year. So both would be able to update their demographic information appropriately. With that, we're going to advance to the next page. You can see the student demographic information. Again, I can't change any of this because we don't want families overriding the demographic information that we have for students, all kinds of implications there. But we can enter a student cell phone number, and we can designate whether or not we want that student receiving text messages. This is something that I strongly recommend for middle school, high school students. Whenever kids are starting to get their cell phones, you get this information entered into here, and this is how families and students can stay up to date with front office staff or coaches or teachers that want to use the JMC Messenger to message students directly or primary contacts directly. So get that student cell phone information in there. Again, with the race ethnicity data, this is something that we collect as well. Click next, and this will take you to the custom fields questions. Again, I can access the custom fields questions by clicking directly to that spot in the registration process. So I can just click the link, and it's going to take me right to that page that I was just at in the registration process here. So click next. I've got some more custom fields questions. Click next. It's letting me know that I've submitted all my custom fields data because I clicked directly through this link. I'm going to go back to the registration process and just catch us up to where we were. Emergency contacts. If I have any emergency contacts that I want to list, again, these would not be primary contacts. These would be folks that might live outside of the primary residence that you would want the school to get a hold of in case there's an emergency. Health custom fields questions are also available. As mentioned before, we've got a medication table in here. So if we do have medication, we can enter that if the school is requesting that you do so. Multiple students, each student is going to show up. They're going to be listed separately. So as you go through the registration process, you're going to do it for all students in your family. Eventually, we're going to get to a downloadable content page. If you've got a file that's available to download, you can click that link and download it. It's going to pop up here. It popped up on my separate screen here, and it's nothing too exciting. It's just a blank page. Again, if we have new students, sorry to back up, if signature is required. So one of the things that when rethinking online registration, we talk to our schools about would be, is this something that actually needs a signature, or is it something that can be handled? Is it a question that could be handled during custom fields? You know, a lot of folks, you know, before when you were filling out those packets individually by hand, you know, there were maybe 10 pages that required signatures. What we're finding is schools are able to consolidate those down into maybe one consent signature that says, I do hereby declare that all of the information that I submitted in the online registration process is correct to the best of my knowledge, or whatever it is that you would want them to adhere to. You can actually kind of create one waiver, if you will, for all things that are contained within online registration. So new students, we've got optional comments. And then the finish button is letting you know that your demographic information is complete. And this is where we would recommend that schools, if you have some additional instructions, like you want to make sure your families pay lunch accounts or pay tuition and fees balances, or visit the office to pick up their computers, or schedule a time with a tech professional to pick up their computers. This is where that information would go in that finished instructions. You'll also receive an email to let you know that this is now finished, that the online registration process is finished. I can click OK. It's going to bounce me back to my dashboard. And there are additional items in here that are not necessarily included in what I would call the back to school registration process. Things like maybe signable forms, or lunch, tuition and fees payments, things of that nature. Your downloadable links are going to show up on here, as are your application for educational benefits when those are available. So you might have to visit this page multiple times as a parent and throughout the school year, and that's perfectly fine. That's what it's there for. You can come back and update not only your demographic information, phone numbers, things like that, but you can take a quick peek at your application for educational benefits. If we go click our lunch, it's going to take us to our lunch page so we can make our online payment or review our balances, and the same with tuition and fees. So a lot of information, a lot of good stuff from the family end for navigating the family portal. Are there any questions that are coming through on what this looks like from a family end?
I don't see any questions, Jake.
All
Jake, did you, I apologize, I actually got called away for saying, did you go through the free and reduced form?
I did not go through the free and reduced form specifically. I wasn't sure if it was available, so I didn't click on it, but let's see if it is.
If not, we could do it. Let's do it, because this is one thing that I think I get a lot of questions on, like, what do the parents see for free and reduced? You know, and I know one thing you're going to mention, or we want to re-mention, is that every school should log in as a parent, even if you want to set up a fake parent, and go through exactly what Jake is doing.
Yep.
You should never be guessing, like, where is this coming from? Or what do parents see? Like when parents call in, or if they sit down at a computer, have a question, you should be able to really nail it pretty quickly. Yep, this is what we're looking at. But this is one question a lot of people have. So if you could just take 2 minutes to go through the process so they can see what it looks like, that would be great. And the only other thing I would say about the free reduced forms is that I think that the USDA is encouraging people to do it online, as opposed to on paper, because the online forces families to answer all the questions. Whereas I've seen the forms, just like you probably have, that people fill out on paper, and it's, I've got 5 kids in my family and we earn $43,000 a year, and that's all, and they sign it, right? Well, the USDA is supposed to be collecting more information. So that's why they have this process. It does take families longer, but it collects all the information they want. So why don't you walk them through that?
Absolutely. So once again, from the register for 24-25 school year, when you're ready for those application benefits or the applications to be received, you can enable this and your families would go through this process. There would be a short welcome. This is hard coded in there, so you wouldn't need to enter or edit any of this information. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. I can go back to last year and walk people through this. I'd have to sign out. It's going to be very similar. I know let's log out and log back in. So the reason I logged out and logged back into last year is the application is actually available for the 23-24 school year. It's not yet available for 24-25. So if you go in there and you receive a message, like an error message, what you just received, that's the reason why. And usually July 1st is when your new guidelines, your new federal guidelines come out, and that's when it gets updated in JMC. There's not a lot that we can do about that timeline. It's whenever the information is available to us, we make it available to you. So the process is going to be very similar. There are a few things that you should know. This information all comes from the federal government. So they give you the information on SNAP and FIP and FDPIR and all those programs. They give you the chart for eligibility. They give you the things that you need to know. And then there's a link to translated applications available as well. The same process holds true. Just click next to advance to the next page. You know, you've got a certification or a promise essentially that this information is to the best of the knowledge of the parent. I'll be Jake Van Parent for this one. We've got the students that are listed as a part of the family. Go through next. If we receive assistance for supplemental nutrition, SNAP, FIP, FD, PIR, I believe these are all going to be, what do you call that? Direct certification pieces. You might have some additional fields that you would enter if you receive any of those pieces. So we've got this McKinney-Vento Homeless Act Assistant Act piece in here. I think this would also be a direct certification piece that you would answer. If more information is required, if they aren't already accepted through direct certification, they can go ahead and add more kids if they need to. Moving in, we have a few more questions related to income. Your contributing adults to the household, if there are additional contributing revenues. We've got some military job and benefits questions. If I continue to go through this, it asks for me for my last 4 digits, my social security number. Ask me to supply my contact info. I don't know if it's going to let me do this. If I don't, yep. All right. An optional question for race, ethnicity, if you want to provide that as part of the data collection process. And then you would be able to select. And then the legal statements that you have here. All of this information is available online to your families. Click next. It gives me my household size or my income. I certify that this page is correct to the best of my knowledge. I sign it. And once I've submitted it, it is available for process through, who would actually process that? Would that be processed then through a government agency? Do they take a look at it first, or is that just something that it's
This is
the computer gives us the thumbs up, thumbs down, or coding gives us the thumbs up, thumbs down, and lets you know whether or not the student is golden to receive meal benefits?
Yep, it's just, and just to add on to your language, Jake, it's the family. And the family, just like when you enter in that item on the lunch, free and reduced, determine free and reduced status, where you're manually entering those things, this all gets put into JMC Office under lunch, free and reduced, online applications, whatever it says there. Yeah, so if you want to go there to lunch, free and reduced to, there we go, direct, yeah, meals application status, right? That's where it's going to show up on the left up there. They choose the family, and we tell them again, if they're free, reduced, they can view it, they can, there you go. Yep. So go ahead and hit select on the left-hand side. There we go. So it's going to tell them, yep, you're eligible for free. You can view the application straight up if you want to. You were right close to there. If you go up to the left a little bit, there you go. If you want to view it, you could. You don't have to. You can then accept it and then view the notification letter just like you do in the office. Yep. I think you have to view the notification letter first. So hit cancel there for a second.
Oops, sorry.
That's right. It doesn't matter either way. You can always go select on the right-hand side. So you go back and select it. Yep. And then go to down, scroll down to the view the notification letter there. It's up just a little bit. Up. Nope, you just skipped over to the left. You're real close down. There we go. That's the letter you have to give them, right? So
Okay.
It's going to bring that letter up. There you go. As well. So just like when, it's the one thing about when they bring a paper application is you put the information in, and I always say it's so fast, you can give them a letter right there, or you can mail it to them. With the online, you still have to give them the response letter that's required by law. So you have to decide, well, am I going to give it to them in person? Am I going to send it via snail mail? I don't know if you can email it. Honestly, I've never had that question. Maybe you can. But that's what you give to the families.
Suppose if it was a PDF, you'd be able to attach it to an email.
I think so. Yeah, but you have to attach it individually so you can decide what works best for you. So
Yep.
I do a lot with this, Jake. Did you, Jake, or any of our team have any questions about the online free and reduced application or this side here?
I did not.
Great.
I don't know if anything else is coming through. If any other questions are coming through. I don't see any questions coming.
I don't see any.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that info, Paul.
Yeah.
Denise or Amy, anything else to add?
Nope, I think I'm good with what
Yeah.
you're showing them.
You covered it all, Jake.
All right. Wonderful. With that, that concludes. So this is a nice resource that you could share with your families if they have questions about how to go through that online registration process. I know there's a little bit of information for office professionals because we know we have a lot of office folks that are going to view this too. But after the fact, if you're looking for a resource to send along to your families that steps out how you would go through this process, you could absolutely share this YouTube video with them as well. So jumping into some upcoming events, we are back at some MCCC via EdFi reporting on May 9th, which is tomorrow. Next week, we're going to get into processing those back to school online registration submissions. So I mentioned at the top here that the first, preparing for online registration, then submitting your data. The third phase is processing those submissions. And we are actually going to have a work session also towards the end of June. So you should be able to take these first 3 webinars, even the 15th, these first 3 webinars, try to implement this process. And then if you have any questions, obviously reach out to training@jmcinc.com or reach out for some additional training through the widget. Or you can attend that work session, and it's a great collaborative space that we can all get together and learn from each other. It's something that we're doing with the MCCC via EdFi for Minnesota. We're getting a lot of clients to chime in on those work sessions, and it's a great learning opportunity for not only us, but for other schools to see how how everybody else is kind of handling these very similar situations. So 4th week of May, understanding GPAs and our MCCC work session. And then rounding out May, we've got JMC grading from goals to details, and then our summer conference preview, which will be Paul Freed and myself, and potentially a special guest that I'm looking very much forward to. So did you hear we are hosting our pre-summer conference social hour with games, giveaways, drinks, munchies, and a brainstorm on JMC's family and teacher portals. This will be in Minnesota on the 17th of June and in Iowa on the 19th of June. So if you are attending our summer conference, or even if you're not attending our summer conference and just want to come for the happy hour, we would love to have you there. It should be a great time. Check out this link to scoop up your tickets today. If you would like to enable email and text to voice messaging while giving all community members the power to stay in the know on district news and how and when they want it, add JMC's community messenger portal for just 42 cents per student. Very reasonable that price that opens up a world of communication possibilities within your district. So if you're interested in learning more, we'll have more information at our summer conference. And we also have a few YouTube videos out there about the community messenger. Turn back to school chaos into calm, cool, and collected, literally, with JMC's online registration tools. For the 411 on handy registration collection templates, how to create crystal clear health questions, and enabling e-signatures, catch the training over on YouTube. As I mentioned before, our YouTube channel will have all 3 of these videos after the fact if you need to reference these as you are enabling your school's back to school online registration process. Are you rah-rah ready to boost school spirit? That's what the general store portal is all about. It'll take you from a daunting pile of order forms to a fully customizable online store complete with detailed order tracking and reporting. Stay tuned for the fall launch of General Store, which would be awesome. For Paul Freed and the rest of the crew that's joining us today, we appreciate you being a part of these weekly webinars, and we will catch you on the